GOP presidential candidate Dr. Ben Carson joins us now live from West Palm Beach to talk about this campaign so far.
And Dr. Carson, thank you again so much for joining us. Last week we talked with you a little bit about this, but wanted to bring it up again. Mr. Trump said he wants to win the African American vote. Then he said at the end of 4 years after a first term in his presidency that he'd win 95% of the African American vote. So what do you think specifically makes Mr. Trump appealing to African American voters?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have used the 95% number because that completely distracts from the message that he was trying to get across. And that is that traditionally, particularly Democrats have made lots of promises to African Americans, have been in charge of many of our major cities, including this one that I grew up in, Detroit, and have simply made a mess of things and have made people's lives much, much worse. He's talking about things that actually will work, ways to empower people, using the over $2 trillion overseas for empowerment zones and to create jobs for people who are unemployed, underemployed, and on welfare. That'd be the biggest stimulus since FDR's New Deal. School choice and voucher programs, because if you give a person a good education, basically they don't need anything else. They begin to write their own ticket. Those are the things that have to be talked about, and those are the things that he will propose. Now, what he is basically saying is that he probably won't get the majority of African American votes this time around because of tradition. However, when people actually see stuff that works, they'll forget about party affiliations. They'll begin to think about what's good for them and for their children.
But he's got to have a message that would resonate with minority voters, and right now the polls at least show him barely registering with not only African Americans but also with Latinos and with Asian Americans as well. And at it was quoted in the story that we had right before you, when he was talking about courting African American voters, he says, essentially, what else, what do you have to lose? Is that an effective strategy for going after minority voters?
Well, again, I don't think those were the most effective words. The point that he was making is that what you've been going with traditionally has not been helping you. So isn't it worthwhile considering something different? And also, I wouldn't pay a great deal of attention to the polls. Recognize that particularly in the African American community, if you don't follow, the script, you are severely ostracized. And, people aren't willing to do that quite yet.
All right, Dr. Carson, thank you.
Yeah, as always, we appreciate you taking a little extra time. We know you have a very, very busy schedule.